Whoop, Wild Berry Skittles did it again, completely shutting down any talk about that first loss in the most definitive way possible, and now it's on to super fights in Spanish football stadiums against fellow rising star Ilia Topuria. Or is it? Shouldn't it be Merab next? Is O'Malley the star his walkout song claims? We have so much to discuss. I'm Tommy from MMA On Point. A massive thank you to our channel Hall of Famers, and I want to know, is Sean O'Malley really ready for Ilia Topuria? Now, before we get to the topic at hand, let's run down last night's card in case you missed it, yeah? Sugar Sean O'Malley won every single round to retain the bantamweight title against Chito Vera. Dustin Poirier knocked out massive lightweight prospect Benoit Saint-Denis in the second round of their 5-stanza dance. Michael Venom Page confused Kevin Holland to a UD victory in his UFC debut. Jack Della Maddalena knocked out Gilbert Burns in the waning minutes of their fight. And to kick off the main card, former champ Petr Yan scored a decision win over Song Yadong. The prelims were okay, but every fight that had a finish is probably worth checking out if you skipped them. Alright, we know what happened at 299. Let's run the numbers on this thing to get a bit more depth on our discussion. The fourth largest gate in UFC history saw 14 fights with 4 KO TKOs, 1 sub, 9 decisions, for a total cage time of 2 hours 53 minutes 10 seconds. 10 favorites won on the night with 4 dogs pulling off upsets. The Diamond via second round KO was plus 1400, and my god, what a moment that was. Forget about the money. The Sugar Show landed a brutal 230 significant strikes. That matches exactly what he landed on poor Chris Montinho back in 2021. Vera has now absorbed a staggering 1,693 significant strikes. Last night bumped him up to 5th all-time in UFC history, and that is without a single knockdown or knockout loss, earning him our T800 award. Dustin Poirier won his 30th pro bout, 15th by knockout, on the 8,699th day of his career, earning him our You Still Got It chant award. That was the least amount of strikes Kevin Holland has landed in any fight that's gone the distance in his entire career, with just 64. Gilbert Burns landed the most takedowns of his career with 7. That was also the most success anybody has had with TDs against JDM, but a trend that has remained 100% consistent in his UFC career thus far. If Jack scores a knockdown, he will be earning a finish. And finally, former champ Petr Yan earned his first victory in 862 days. But the stats can only tell us so much about 299, so let's talk about what really happened, shall we? First of all, it has to be said that was an amazing performance by O'Malley. He was in near control the entire fight. He landed some absolutely devastating shots, and dude, Chito didn't even look like the same person after the bout. That was one of the most definitive earned back victories I have ever seen. That said, right after it finished, I fully expected Merab to show up in the cage and for them to do a bit of trash talk, but that is not what we got at all. Instead, we got O'Malley asking for a super fight with Ilia Topuria, which he backtracked just a bit on afterwards and said he would fight Merab if that's what everyone wanted. So what is it that everyone wants?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
There was a lot of talk this week about whether or not Sean O'Malley really is the guy. Does he have the star power that the box office for this event would indicate? As I mentioned earlier, it was the 4th highest gate of all time, the biggest without Conor. But make no mistake, UFC 205, this was not. Adjusted for inflation, that one did like double what this one did. But really, is anybody on Conor's level? Is that even a fair mark? I think Dana said it best at the presser. Sean is the biggest bantamweight star they have ever had in terms of box office. Now, I know that's a very low ceiling, but nonetheless, it sounds like it's accurate, whether he's a megastar for the company compared to other weight classes or not. The thing is, though, White didn't seem like there was some mandate for a super fight with Topuria, even though he did mention them considering events in Spain for the new champ at 145. He would go on to say that he didn't seem that enthused about either man jumping divisions, since Topuria has double champ aspirations as well, so I think that's as good an indicator as anything about what the UFC thinks of this super fight idea. Because we know if the money was there, it wouldn't be about the merits. But speaking of the merits, if we're looking at this purely from a sporting perspective, Sean's title victory over Sterling was certainly a big deal, but this Vera fight was really made because of the outcome of their first fight more than anything. Merab is clearly the #1 contender at 135. He arguably has a better resume than the champion. And so to have someone so clearly lined up as the challenger, it feels like that is very much unresolved. Yes, O'Malley's performance over Chito was impressive as hell, but it didn't feel like a moment where we need to see him jumping up and going for double champ status yet. yet. If they made that fight tomorrow, it's a super fight in name because they're both champions, but it doesn't feel like a super fight. Now, if Sean gets past Merab, and I'm sure Topuria would get a title defense in there as well by that time, then I think maybe you'd have a better argument. Maybe by then it would feel right and it would feel like a big deal. But right now there's too much that's unresolved, at least on Sean's end, and the lukewarm reaction by Dana about the idea leads me to believe that both champs will be fighting someone from their own division next. Sean said at the presser that the goal is to be the attraction without even having a belt, to be Connor essentially. Whether he'll get to that main event status, something only probably 3 people have ever achieved, is yet to be seen, but winning and beating people like Merab that many expect to defeat Sean will go a long way to helping him get there. Alright, let's wrap up our discussion of UFC 299, shall we? Man, Dustin Poirier had one of the best moments of his career out there, and that is really saying something considering all he's done. Taking that massive risk in fighting BSD paid off massively, and while I don't know what to do with him next, regardless, that win felt like a special moment, and I think that was because a lot of us were worried that this was going to be the end, and no, he held off a surging Saint Denis in the most Dustin Poirier way possible. The title picture's pretty jammed up at the moment with big top 5 fights coming up, but Dustin feels relevant still after that win. He has definitely got some more wars in him. MVP's big debut delivered mostly, I think. For fans who weren't familiar with his work, I thought he showed all the reasons why he's such a unique and captivating talent. The walkout was fun, even if Izzy did the Undertaker theme first, and of course his performance was a lot of fun. Look, Holland is as tough as they come. I'm sure at least one of those spinning back elbows would have put anybody else's lights out in the division. But being on such a big card, they did a great job with his debut, even if the fight was a bit of an awkward one. White mentioned they need to select his opponents carefully, and I translate that to we need to make sure he has fights with people where it's going to be fun to watch him do his thing. I gotta think that this win puts Jack Della at least near the top 5 at welterweight, if not in it come Monday, and man, calling out Shavkat. I mean, nobody at all wants to fight that guy. He's doing all the right things here, and I would love to see that matchup, or potentially anybody hovering around the title picture. Gary, Colby, Shavkat, just not Bilal. Give that man his damn title shot. Big back to the win column victory for Petr Yan. Let's see if he can build some momentum and insert himself back into the title picture with some wins. I know I wouldn't mind seeing him and O'Malley go at it again eventually. And man, Curtis Blades, every time he climbs the mountain and gets beat, and you think it's the end, he goes out there and earns a performance of the night knockout on a surging potential title contender. Would love to see him finally get over the hump one of these days and earn that title shot. Alright, 299 is in the bag. I had a lot of fun with the main card. It felt like a big show. It felt like it was worth the $80. You all paid the $80 too, I'm sure, right? It's okay, I won't tell anybody. We now move on to the big 300 show, which also feels like it's gonna be worth the money. Let's just hope it doesn't end up snake bit like 200 did. Alright guys, it's time for you to sound off in the comments. Is Sean the guy? Do you want that super fight with Topuria? Do you think he's ready for it? How do you think he'd fare against the featherweight champ? What about Merab? Does he deserve that shot first? What would you do with Dustin Poirier? There's so much to discuss. Please get to chatting. I love seeing your thoughts on what went down. A massive thank you to my good buddy and the editor of this video, Max Randall. The guy's an absolute stud for getting these autopsies out so fast. Follow him on all his socials and check out his awesome YouTube channel. A massive thanks to our channel Hall of Famers as well. You guys are just the best. Fight fans, there's lots of exclusive and awesome content for you if you become one yourself by hitting the join button down below the video. Like and subscribe so we know that you enjoy this type of post-show content. Thank you so much for watching and have yourselves a great Sunday. I will see you on the next one.